Okay, hi everybody. I just wanted to upload this video to give you guys a little bit of review of what we did in class. Also wanted to remind you that I have uploaded the quiz, the vocabulary quiz, and you should have been studying, of course, your flashcards, and you can go ahead and print that out and take the quiz sometime today or tomorrow and upload it, email it to me sometime tomorrow before midnight. And so we're just going to start by going over the chapter that we read last week, just so that we can be sure that we understand everything that happened. Okay, and I'm just going to point to each sentence. I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to read each sentence, and then we'll go through it, and I'll just give you the translation. Okay, so the first chapter was about, remember, the two Roman girls. So first sentence, ecce, right here, ecce in pictura est puella nomine Cornelia. Look in the picture, in pictura, est puella, is a girl, nomine Cornelia, named Cornelia. Cornelia est puella Romana, quae in Italia habitat. Cornelia is a Roman girl who lives in Italy. Remember, we talked about how the word order gets mixed around in Latin. So we have a puella Romana, a Roman girl who lives in Italy, in Italia habitat. Etiam in pictura est villa rustica ubi Cornelia aestate habitat. Etiam also in pictura, in the picture, est villa rustica, is a country house and farm, ubi Cornelia aestate habitat, where Cornelia lives in the summer. Cornelia est laeta quod iam in villa habitat. Cornelia is happy because now she lives in the country house. Remember, we talked a little bit about how Cornelia was in the city and it was really hot and it was probably really boring in the summertime. She wanted to go to the country house, and it was a retreat. It was by the seaside. It was nice. So that's why she's happy that she's in the country house now. And remember, we talked a little about how she has a friend named Flavia who also lives here. So she's happy to see her friend. Okay, I just erased some of that so that it was out of our way there. Okay, so we're right here with Cornelia. Cornelia iam sub aure sedit et legit. Okay, so Cornelia now sits sub aure, under the tree, et legit, and reads. Cornelia now sits under the tree and reads. Okay. Etiam in pictura est altra puella nomine Flavia. Also, etiam in pictura, in the picture, is altra puella, is another girl, nomine Flavia, named Flavia. Okay, so we have two girls. We have Cornelia and we have Flavia. And we talked about how we recognize some of those words. Altera, we talked about the word alternate, is a second, another. So those are some ways we can remember what that means. Okay, so we're going to go to the next sentence now. Flavia est puella romana, and then we have that puella romana again, quae in villa vicina habitat. Okay, so Flavia is a Roman girl who lives in a neighboring country house. So you can see how we did that with the word order there. And we saw how Flavia is a Roman girl who lives in a neighboring country house. Villa vicina. And we have villa down here and vicina down there. Okay? And then we have the next sentence. Dum Cornelia legit, Flavia scribit. And this one is very straightforward word order wise. While Cornelia reads, Flavia writes. And if you guys remember the picture, or you're looking at your book right now, you can see how that's very obvious from the picture. While Cornelia reads, Flavia writes. And if you remember, we talked a little bit about the kind of reading that you would do using a scroll, and we talked about the kind of writing that you would do using a wax tablet. Okay, so then the next thing, the last sentence, Laeta est Flavia. And that was the one where we see the word order really mixed around, right? Laeta est Flavia. In English, it sort of sounds like happy is Flavia, but that doesn't really make sense. So our better English tells us to say Flavia is happy. So we should say Flavia is happy because, quote, Cornelia jam in villa habitat. Cornelia now lives in villa, in the country house. So Flavia, remember, lives there all the time. She misses her friend Cornelia. Cornelia lives in the city some of the time, and she lives in the country house some of the time. So Flavia is now happy because Cornelia now is living in the country house. Okay. I should have said Flavia is happy because Cornelia now is living in the country house. Not Flavia now is happy. Okay. So, the vocabulary I'm going to leave to you all because you did have the week to study, and we know that the quiz is on this vocabulary right here, these two columns right here. Okay, and you should be just fine as long as you study the Latin to English as well as the English to Latin, which I know that I reminded you already. I'm just giving you, telling you that one more time. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're not going to do this part here. We already did this in class, and that was fine. So we're going to go to a new page, and we're going to talk a little bit about some grammar, really, really basic grammar, that we will talk about again in our class on Friday. So this little short lesson is going to be called Parts of Speech, and you might know what a part of speech is. You probably know some of the parts of speech depending on what you've learned so far in English, but we're going to talk about 3 parts of speech, and the first one is going to be a noun, the second one is going to be an adjective, and the third one is going to be a verb. And this is also on page 4 of your textbook, if you would like to look at that after you watch this video. So for a noun, okay, in English and in Latin, a noun is a person, a place, a thing, or an idea. Okay, so some examples of nouns, all right, in English. A person, we could say a girl. a place? How about a house? A thing? How about a tree? An idea? Well, how about happiness? Those are all nouns. Okay? So in our story, we had some nouns in Latin. Okay? And some nouns, some examples of nouns in the story, well, we can look at this word in English. We can say, well, we had a Latin word for that, puella. We had a Latin word for house, villa. We had a Latin word for tree as well, arbor, arbore. Okay. And how about the girls in our story? Cornelia. And also, how about Flavia? Those are both people. Okay. So, those are the nouns that we had. Okay, some examples of nouns. An adjective is a describing word. And it's a describing word in English as well as in Latin. Okay, so we had some describing words in Latin. We'll talk first about some describing words in English. So let's say, how about Roman? Or how about happy? How about, let's see, another describing word that we have. How about a neighboring? Okay, these are all describing words. In the case of Roman, it described the word girl. Happy also described the word girl, or described the Flavia or Cornelia. And neighboring described the villa, the country house. So if you think about what these words were in Latin, we should be able to come up with adjectives in Latin. Romana, laeta, and vicina. So there we know some adjectives in Latin. And verbs are probably the easiest ones to spot because verbs are action words, or they tell us about something that exists or is. So they're action words, or they're words that tell us about being. And that's a little bit tricky, but really what we mean here is the word for is and are. Those are verbs of being, and that's all you really need to know about that right now. And action words, verbs that are action words, well, we have a bunch of those. We have, in our story, we have sits, or is sitting. We have writes. The sitting is kind of like, it's not exactly an action, but it's something that you're doing. So that's what they mean by action. Writes. How about reads? Those are all things that people are doing. So we know verbs then in Latin. We know sedet, we know scribit, and legit. Okay? And we do know the word for is in Latin. We don't yet know the word for are, but we do know the word for is, est. So that's our first verb of being in Latin. So here are our verbs, sedet, scribit, legit, words like that. Okay, so then we're going to go just quickly to exercise 1B, and this is on page 5 of your textbook. Okay, and we're not going to do the whole thing because we're going to do it in the class on Friday. But I just wanted to give you a little heads up on how to do this and some information ahead of time. So we're going to look at exercise 1B, and we're just going to do the first 3 of these, okay? So the exercise just asks us what part of speech, remember we talked about parts of speech, we learned noun, adjective and verb. Okay, that's what they're asking you about. So what part of speech is each of the following? And these happen to be listed in the order that they occur in the story. Okay, so that's fine. So what part of speech is a puella? Well, let's see. We'll go back to our notes over here, and we can look right here at the first thing we talked about. And we talked about person. Well, puella is a person. So a puella is a person, place, thing, or idea. Is it a describing word? Or is it an action word or a word of being? Well, it's obviously a person, right? So it's a noun. So then we go back here, and all we have to write is puella is a noun. Now you can write exercise 1B in your notebook, and you can write number 1 noun like that. Or you could write number 1 puella noun, something like that. Okay? And then number 2, huila. Well, let's see here. Is a huila a person, a place, a thing, or an idea? Is it a describing word? Or is it an action word or a word of being? Well, it's not an action word. We know that. And it is definitely a place, and we have it actually written right here, so that's pretty simple. So it's a place, so that means that it's, again, a noun. So a huila is a noun. So we'd write huila, noun. Okay. And then number 3, and this is what you would have in your notebook here. I'm just showing you on my paper here. Okay, and the last one I'm going to do is aestate. And that might be a little bit tricky, but if you think about it, it's probably not too bad. Okay, let's think here now. Is it a describing word? Is it a word like Roman or happy or neighboring? Is it an action word? Is it like sits or writes or reads, something that we're doing? Or is it the word is? Est? No. Okay. Well, what about a noun? Is it a person? Well, let's see. Aestate. No, what does aestate mean? Remember, it means in summer. Okay, so is summer a person? No. Is it a place? No. How about a thing? Well, it's not a thing like a tree, but is it an idea? That works. Okay, so summer is actually also a noun. Okay, so aestate is also a noun. All right, so we're looking to see again, is it a noun, is it an adjective, or is it a verb? So we're going to do numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 in class. So if you didn't understand anything or you were confused, that's fine, because we will do these in class. And the last thing that I want to do is just one of exercise 1C. And just to show you guys how to do this, we're going to do the rest of them in class together. We're going to do them out loud in class, but I want to show you how to do this using your story. So it says use the story as a guide. In the picture is a country house and farm. So we're going to go all the way back to our story, and we're going to look here. In pictura, okay, well, let's see. In the picture is a girl. The girl, Cornelia, is a Roman girl. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Also, in pictura est villa rustica. I think we might have found it. In the picture is a country house and farm. Okay. So that's using the story as a guide. So all we would have to put in our notebook, exercise 1C, number 1, in pictura est villa rustica. In pictura est villa rustica. Okay, so again, we're going to do this in class. We'll do 2, 3, 4, and 5 together, and we will also do numbers 4 through 8. But I just wanted to give you a preview of what we would be learning, and I wanted to go over the parts of speech, and we will review them in class, and you'll have any opportunities you need to ask questions about that as well. Okay, so make sure that you take your quiz before tomorrow night at midnight, and be sure if you have any questions, send me an email, have your parents send me an email, and I will see you on Friday at our class time. Okay? All right. Have a good night. Have a good day. Bye-bye.